I'm out here in the Boundary Waters canoe area, and it is freezing out here. It's about 100 degrees below zero with wind chill. We are camping because we are crazy. I'm going to show you what sort of clothing I am wearing and what sort of gear I brought. Wait. What happened, guys? Guys, what happened? Cut. What happened? Oops. I'm not in the Boundary Waters canoe area in the freezing cold temperatures of very northern Minnesota yet. But I am going to be heading out in just a few days with a few of my friends that you may know. My friend Toaks from Thunder Bay, Canada.
Hello, friends.
My friend Miyagi.
Hi, I'm Miyagi.
And another guy that has this up-and-coming YouTube channel. I think his name was Sean, and something about his channel being called Shug.
All right, all secure in Sector 7. Woo, buddy!
I don't know. I've never heard of him before. But let's talk a little bit about the gear that I'm going to be bringing along on this trip. The first thing that you can see from this big pile of stuff here in front of me is it's not going to be in a backpack. When we go out in these freezing cold temperatures and there's snow, we bring all of our gear in a sled or a pulk. This is a pulk, which is a sled with some straps on it, and it comes with these poles that are hooked up to a harness. Hook that harness onto your body, hook it onto the sled, and you pull all of your gear on the snow across the lakes and to our campsite. It makes it a little bit easier because we can bring more of that cold winter gear and not have to carry it on our shoulders. But before I get into what is in my pulk here, I have another bag packed because we are going to be heading up to Grand Marais the night before. We're going to grab some dinner. We're going to stay in a hotel. We're going to grab some breakfast in the morning and then head out. When the days are this short up there, there's limited daylight. So if we were driving 5 or 6 hours, it would be really tough to get that long hike in, get all set up, get enough firewood and cook and get everything done before dark. So this allows us a little bit more time. So in that bag that I have packed, I have all of the clothes that I am going to be wearing as I hike into our campsite. Let me show you what's in that bag. Here is all of the clothes that I'm going to be wearing as I hike out to our camping spot in the Boundary Waters. On my feet, first of all, I have some thick socks here. These are not wool. These are an acrylic sock, Polar Extreme socks. These I've found have been warmer than any type of wool, and I really like them, and they're pretty cheap. Again, the tag here says Polar Extreme on it. Over the top of that, once again, I will be wearing my Stiger mucklucks, which have kept my feet warm in cold temperatures for quite some time. And then I have these are just Wrangler insulated fleece pants that I purchased at Walmart probably 3 years ago. They're pretty waterproof and they keep me very warm. And underneath those I have a pair of running tights that are really thick. So the combination of the two keep my legs pretty warm. And I don't think that I'm going to need my wool bibs unless I get really, really cold. And just a pair of stretchy underwear underneath that. Just kind of a spandex sort of thing where they wick moisture really well. Interesting part that I'm just figuring out as I'm looking through this is most of my layering from the waist down is synthetic materials like polyesters. And from the waist up, it's all natural materials. And my base layer, this is brand new for me. I haven't worn it yet. It's Brynja out of Norway. And it is a merino wool. and it's actually a mesh material. And a bunch of people recommended this type of shirt as a base layer to me in my wool versus down versus fleece video that I did a few months ago that was really popular. So I'm going to give this a try. These are really hard to find. Like I said, they're out of Norway. There was another brand that they recommended to me, and I couldn't even find that in America. So it's really soft and really comfortable. And you may be thinking that mesh is counterproductive if you're trying to stay warm, but I got to remind you that the base layer is for wicking, not for warmth. So having that mesh should help with the wicking and giving the space before my mid layers. I will be doing a full review of this shirt once I've used it and I feel comfortable doing that. Over the top of that is my Appalachian Gear Company alpaca hoodie, which is really warm. And this is also relatively new to me. One thing that's not new is over the top of that, it's a Smart Wool brand, but it's not Smart Wool. It's traditional wool quarter zip shirt over the top of that. So I have two mid layers, and over the top of that, as I'm walking in, it may be too warm for this, but I'm going to be wearing my Magma 850 hooded down coat. This thing is tried and true, been with me every single trip I've ever been on for the last 4 years. I like sleeping with this hood on, and it's just a solid jacket, and it's a seasonal thing at REI, but you can get it pretty cheap when it comes to down coats anyway. Over the top of that on my neck, I have an Appalachian Gear Company fleece tube, they call it. So I'll wear that around my neck. And again, it's made out of alpaca. Something new to me, but I do like wearing the gaiters. So I think this will be a really good addition. And as we go up, I've got my alpaca hat. Do I look ridiculous in it? Yeah, that's kind of the point. But it's also very warm with all of this alpaca. I got this from Now Outdoors, my buddy Nick. He goes to Peru and sources it directly from Peru. And on my hands, these are also new. Just this is an Amazon purchase for like 30 bucks. These are double XL gloves with 3M Thinsulate inside of it to keep my hands warm. I won't need a whole lot as I am walking in, and you'll see that I have other gloves that I have along for the trip for different purposes. The reason why these are double XL is I got big hands, but not that big, so that allows room for a glove liner inside of it. So this is all the clothes that I am going to be wearing as I hike in on our trip. Now let's dive into what is actually on and in my pulk. I have a video that I put out on how to build a pulk like this, and I will put a link to that up in the cards. A lot of this gear that I'm going to be talking about, I'll talk about that. I probably have a video where I reviewed some of this gear. I'm not going to be able to put it all in the cards, but I'll mention it as we go through. So this pulk has 4 straps going over the top. Let me get unhooked here a little bit. And on the top of my bag here, I have, first off, a shovel. So this is just an extendable plastic scoop shovel. Now a lot of people will carry a smaller shovel than this, and it's metal. And those metal ones come in really handy when you have ice and you have to chip away. However, there is about 2 to 3 feet of snow up there right now. And I like having this bigger plastic shovel because I'm going to have to dig out where my hammock is going to be. And this shovel's a little bit bigger, and it makes that process a little faster. Okay, and next on top I have my MSR snowshoes. I am not going to be wearing these in right away. Yeah, if there isn't a trail and we have to walk on snow, or a lot of times if it's a little bit warmer up there, the snow and the ice on top of the ice on top of the lakes that we're going across can be slushy. And these snowshoes will help maintain on top of that slush and keep my feet drier. Okay, let's dive into the bag. Now, the problem with having such a big bag, of course you can bring lots of gear and it can weigh more because you're pulling it instead of carrying it. But it's hard to keep organized in here once you get to the campsite. So I have several stuff sacks in here that help me do just that. And the first one here is the biggest bag in here. It's a Sea to Summit. I believe it's a 35-liter bag. And inside of this one bag, I have my hammock. I have my spindrift cover, which goes around my hammock. I should mention that my hammock is the Warbonnet Ridgerunner hammock, and it's a bridge hammock with spreader bars. So I have my hammock, I have my spindrift cover, and I have videos on both of those. And it's all assembled together, and I have a negative 20-degree underquilt also assembled. So when I get out to the campsite, trying to keep my fingers warm, when I have all of that assembled, the hammock, the underquilt, the spindrift cover, all I have to do is hook it up. I don't have to do all that fiddling without my gloves on, and that's when my fingers get cold. So the quicker the better. Also in this bag, I have my 0-degree top quilt. I have my pillow for in my hammock, and I have my my down slipper socks. So those are only worn in my hammock, and I really love those because when it's this cold out, you take off your boots, you get in your hammock, and it takes a little bit of time for that body heat to warm up your top quilt. And if you slip on those slippers, it keeps your feet warmer quicker, and you don't have to wait for that transition period from being warm in your boot to being cold to being warm in your hammock. It just makes that time a little bit easier, and you retain more of that body heat. So this is that big bag where it has mostly everything that I am going to need for setting up my hammock. I also have, let's see here, where is it? We'll skip ahead here. I also have a separate stuff sack here, also from Sea to Summit. This is a compression bag. This is the bag that I use on all my trips, including my summer trips, where it really compresses down some of your down and some other items that may be in there. Excuse me. So this is all of my extra clothes in here. I have some Pudola shorty shorts because we're planning on doing another polar plunge, diving through a hole in the lake into the water. I have a fleece balaclava hoodie, and this is what I really like to sleep in. And this is what I've worn the last 2 years when we've gone up there, just during the day too, because it's really warm where I can wear a hat underneath it. Now, as I showed you earlier, I'm going to be wearing that alpaca hat instead of this, but I'm not real comfortable with that alpaca hat in super cold temperatures yet, and I know my old true and tried way of wearing a stocking cap, wearing some hoods over the top, that is what has kept me warm in the past. And with that alpaca hat, I can't wear my hoods. So we're going to try it out, but I have a backup. Okay, what else do I have in here? I have just a thin minus 33 balaclava here. And that I can wear underneath that alpaca hat. I just have a stocking cap I have a second top quilt. This is my 40-degree top quilt. So in that other sack, I have a 0-degree top quilt. And the temperatures are going to be right around 0, so I might need that extra insulation. And I have it packed here just in case. Okay, this is a second down coat, just a cheap little Eddie Bauer down coat. And when it gets super cold out, I can layer my down coats with that one that I showed you earlier. In these temperatures, I'm expecting that I probably won't need it. Maybe when I'm sleeping, I'll put it on because I don't keep the top quilt over me very well. So having 2 down coats will keep me warm. And the last thing in here is I have a second set of thick wool socks. Okay, a couple big things in here. This is my Leicester River Bushcraft Boreal Anorak shirt. You've seen me wear this a lot, and I just love it, but I don't think that I'm going to need this as I'm walking in because I think that I'll be too hot. But I have it packed here, and I do have a review on this garment, which is one of my favorite winter weather pieces of clothing. And underneath, so the temperatures up there are going to be probably a high of 25 to 30, and at night maybe down to 0, maybe a little bit warmer. I have these thick wool bibs that I've worn the last couple times. However, I just went on the Wisconsin Frozen Butt Hang about a month ago, and it's going to be about the same temperature as it was there. And frankly, I was warm enough where I didn't need these, but I'm going to bring them along just in case because I don't want to be cold. I have some ski goggles here. These ski goggles work really good if it's sunny, as sunglasses. If it's windy, keeps you from going snow blind. They also work quite well if you're sitting around the campfire and you're that guy where the smoke keeps on following you. You just put on this and it'll protect you. Okay, I have some spikes here that I can strap on to those mucklucks or my boots. And for traction, if it's icy, we'll see if I need them, but I have them just in case. I have just a little square piece of Tyvek that I bring on every camping trip. And I put that underneath my hammock so I can get up in the middle of the night, even with those down socks on, stand on the Tyvek and pee. All right, so I can keep my feet clean and dry on that when I'm getting up, even in the morning or at night when I'm taking my shoes off. I have an extra set of felt liners for my mucklucks. I have an insulated coffee mug here, and I like to have this so when I go camping, I can make hot chocolate, and I don't have to be in a rush to drink it before it gets cold. It'll stay nice and warm in here, and I can leisurely sip that as I'm sitting around. I have a gallon Ziploc bag here with a bunch of hand warmers, and I also have the Thermacare warmer that goes over your kidneys and on your back. It's really nice if you do get a chill. And, you know, it's not the same every time you go out there. I could go out there and be sweating when it's 20 degrees, and I can go out there and be freezing when it's 20 degrees. It isn't just the weather and the wind and the moisture, but sometimes your body just reacts differently, and I'm prepared for that. I have a small 900 milliliter pot, just in case I want to make something like hot chocolate or something like that. Now, the guys I'm going with, Miyagi, is going to have a great big pot that we're going to melt water in. He's bringing a big frying pan, so I don't have to bring it. So this is the only pot that I need to bring. However, I will need some of those bigger pots and pans that other people are bringing. And it's nice to plan these things ahead so all of us aren't bringing big buckets or big frying pans when we only need one. Okay. My Gom Boy big big saw here. It's the big boy. This thing cuts through wood like butter. Okay. These are snow stakes. These snow stakes are just PVC pipes cut in half, cut to about a foot long with some holes through it with some line and a little micro carabiner on there. So you can bury these things in the snow, let it freeze, hook up your tarp to it. I also have along these little 7-inch spikes. They're not stakes, because if you try to pound a flimsy stake into the frozen ground, it'll just bend. These are huge spikes, a little bit heavier, but you can pound them into frozen ground. So I don't know exactly what I'm going to get up there. If there's going to be a lot of snow where I'm setting up my hammock, and in the Boundary Waters there's a lot of rock. So I might not be able to get these into rock, and I have options for either way. I have my MSR Whisper Light stove. I'm not sure if I'm going to need this. Miyagi is bringing his hot tent that has a stove in there where you can cook on top of it, as well as there are fire grates out there where they're really nice. Build a fire underneath it and you cook on top of that. But just in case, I have this stove, which is brand new and I haven't used on a camping trip yet. So, you know, you got to bring out your toys and play with them a little bit. I have 2 water carrying vessels. First, I have a 32-ounce thermos. And my plan is to hit a gas station before we go out there and to buy some hot chocolate and fill this up. As well as I have a double layer Reflectix with a 1-liter Nalgene bottle inside. And this works surprisingly well. So I can have 64 ounces of hot chocolate and water that, given these temperatures, it probably won't freeze for like a day and a half, 2 days inside of these. Excuse my cough here, I'm just getting over a cold. I have some rubber flip-flop sandals here that will come in handy if we do the polar plunge. If we do. Of course we're going to do it. All right. I have a little chair here. And the reason why I'm bringing this chair is I have a Chair Zero, which is the super ultra lightweight one. But frankly, I think that thing will break in the cold temperature and I don't trust it. This is just a cheap one on Amazon, about the same size. Sometimes I do bring, and I have enough room in my pulk here, bring a full-size folding lawn chair. However, if we're going to be sitting around inside of Miyagi's hot tent, it's nicer to have a little bit smaller chair where you're sitting a little bit lower and you don't take up quite as much room. Okay, this is my tarp. This is a 13-foot mountain fly. I'm bringing a little bit bigger tarp than my Thunderfly, just in case it's windy up there. And this one has an internal mod in it for a pole, where if it does snow, this tarp will shed snow much better than my Thunderfly that just has the pullouts on the outside. Going along with the cooking, I have in here, I have a little rag for when I need to wash off my dishes, as well as a little bowl and a little plate. So what we do on this trip is I am cooking one dinner, Toaks is cooking one dinner, and Miyagi's cooking all the breakfasts. So it's nice to have a plate because I'm not exactly sure what they're going to be bringing along. And I'll get into it in here in a minute, what food I am bringing. Okay, and the last little bag in here, I have 2 bags left. This bag, you know, I talked about organization. And one of the things that is always messy when I'm laying around my campsite, because you have this big bag here and sled and just all laying in there, digging around trying to find stuff, is I have a lot of gloves and mittens. depending on the application and where I'm going to use them. There is a reason why I have so many. I showed you earlier, I have those big gloves, and those gloves are nice. As I mentioned, they're big enough where I can wear my possum down glove liners inside of them. And these things are super warm. However, they aren't real durable. And of course, they aren't waterproof. So the combination of those two will work real well. I also have my Wasoto power mittens. They're battery powered and they heat up. I only have one set of batteries for these, and those batteries have a limited life, so I can't wear them all the time. And of course, with the electronic probes and wires in there, I don't want to get these sweaty, and I don't want to be working in and be rough around them. They're just kind of there for when you're sitting around and trying to get your hands warm. Speaking of electronic, I also have a hand muff here that will do kind of the same thing as these. In this hand muff, you can put a power bank inside of there, press the button, stick your hands in, and they will warm up. Not quite as warm as these, but it's a little bit more efficient, where when I am setting up my hammock or tearing it down, or in the morning, it takes me a long time to put on those mucklucks, get them all laced up and get your foot in that frozen boot. I can stop, put my hands in here for a couple minutes with that with the power running, and warm them back up, take a break, go back out, do whatever I got to do. So this is really nice and one of my favorite new additions this year. If it's super cold, I have some ice armor mittens here that are, again, very big, and I can wear those possum down glove liners inside of. And my final, excuse me here, and my final set of gloves is just a pair of leather insulated work gloves. Not real warm, but when we're processing firewood, I might need something a little bit more robust than those other gloves that I have. Final little bag inside of my big duffel here is my, what's usually my electronics bag. However, I'm calling this my hammock bag. So all those incidentals that I'm gonna put in the sidecar of my hammock and just things that I'm gonna need in my hammock. In this bag, most of this stuff will stay outside in my car when we're at the hotel up there, and it'll get cold and freeze. And these are the things that I'm going to be bringing inside with me, and carrying a lot of this on my body while I'm out there, just to prevent it from freezing. Things like my power bank, which is oversized here, much bigger power bank than I need. However, when it's cold out, sometimes your battery on your phone will die quicker, and I can charge. And this thing, it does pretty good in the cold temperatures. I also have my pair of glasses here. I have my Garmin InReach Mini. I won't be keeping this on all the time, but if there is an emergency, I can turn it on and hit the SOS button if we don't have cell phone service. I have the two batteries for my mittens. I should say that I am keeping the power bank inside of this muff the whole time, because I think that it'll stay warm in there. I'll bring it in the night before from the car, but while we're camping, I think that'll be fine right inside of there. I have some medications and some earplugs for my hammock, some earbuds. Sometimes I'll watch Netflix, or I'll look at the video that I shot during that day, and I can do that without disturbing my neighbors. I have a charging cord for my phone, a charging cord for my headlamp, and for my Garmin InReach Mini, I have UltraPod. This is kind of a backup because I will be carrying my phone, the phone mount, and my extendable tripod in with me as we're hiking in. And this UltraPod is just in case that other tripod breaks And I can also use it to hang it and use just different angles. YouTube nerdy stuff. Inside this bag, I have some wet wipes. This is just my ditty bag that I bring everywhere. Matches, lighter, spare carabiner, spare rubber band dealie for my hammock. Some allergy medicine if I need it. Bear hanging stuff, which I won't need, but anyway, it's all in here. And the final thing, moving right along here, this is something that I've done new this year, and I tried this at the Wisconsin Frozen Butt Hang. I think this is a 3-gallon bucket, similar to a 5-gallon bucket, but a little bit smaller. And you can buy an airtight cover on the top that screws off. And this is where I'm planning to keep all of my food. When we go up in very northern Minnesota, when it's this cold out, we typically don't hang our food. Most of the bears are hibernating. Sure, there's one here or there, but we're playing the odds. And this bucket, what I like about it, first it's airtight, so hopefully it'll contain some of the scents. But if there are any rodents, squirrels, mice, raccoon, deer, whatever, I don't think that they're going to be able to get into this thing very easily. So in here, of course, you can't go camping without Doritos. A couple king-size candy bars for a night, treat myself. I've got like 4-gallon-size zipper bags, freezer bags, some trail mix, or as my buddy Toaks calls it, M&M's and disappointment. I have my long-handled spork, salt and pepper, a bunch of hot chocolate bags in a gallon zip, tongs, little knife. I've got some Hostess cinnamon strudels, some oatmeal pies. And the final thing that I have in here right now are these Shin spicy ramen noodles. So what my meal is going to be for this trip, it's Korean barbecue. So right now inside I have 2 pounds of steak tips marinating in a Korean barbecue sauce. We're going to fry that up when we're out there. And you put it over the top of this spicy ramen noodles. We have this at home a lot, and it is delicious. Some other things that aren't in here right now, but I'm planning to bring. We eat a lot of bacon. I have a ring bologna, so we eat a lot of meat. We eat a lot of grease, and that sort of stuff is what keeps you warm when it's this cold out. Also in here, I plan to put some cookies. I'm going to bake my monster cookies that I bring out when I go camping. They're basically chocolate chip oatmeal cookies where I add in extra oats, I add in a ton of M&Ms, and I add in some walnuts. And it's just a hearty meal, and it seems to really fill you up when you're out there in the cold. So this is everything. I think, I do these videos all the time, and I watch the video, I'm like, oh, I forgot to tell them about this, or the main piece of gear where I forgot to talk about it. Sorry to interrupt you, good looking, but you forgot to talk about a couple things. This is a bag with my hammock spreader bars and my tarp pullouts, as well as some guy line. And this is my Fisker axe, which is underneath my bag. Back to you, Stinky. A week from now, I am going to have a trip video out on this trip. So we'll see how it goes with Miyagi, Toots, and that Sean guy.
Woo, buddy!
And it should be a good time. So tune back in next week for that trip video. But thanks for watching. Thanks for seeing all of my crap that I'm going to bring along. Do me a favor, hit subscribe. Punch the bell notification. Check me out on Instagram and on Facebook. Thanks for coming along. We'll see you on the trail.